Let's go! Who's up next?
Welcome, Internet, to the Xbox Empire podcast, part of the Play Some Video Games network of podcasts. I'm Elaine, joined by Donnie, and we got a special one today, like a mini episode. A episode? I'll workshop that.
Reviewcast.
It's yeah, it is a review cast. We got a video game to talk about. It's called Pumpkin Jack, and both you and I have played it. I don't. Let me see. I don't have notes in front of me. I'm very good at this. I'm a professional. Notes. Excellent. Give me the publisher information because I forget off the top of my head.
Published by Head Up Games.
Okay, that's a good name for it.
Yeah, and
studio of this video game.
They are a really good publisher. They've published Rumbo, Bridge Constructor. They did the Coma 2, which I'm really big fan of. Dead Cells and Frostpunk, and then it was developed by.
Here we go.
It's from Lyon, France, so I'm going to try my best here. Nicolas Maisonnier?
All right. I'll take it. If we said it wrong, I'm so sorry.
We apologize. We apologize greatly.
I deeply apologize for my co-host's pronunciation of the name. I take no responsibility. That's why I booted it to him. So look, Pumpkin Jack is going to be available soon, available as of this recording.
Yeah. Yep.
On the Xbox for sure, and other platforms, I believe.
Switch,
also.
Not yet. On PlayStation, they said it's coming soon.
Okay.
So I don't know what that means, but the last update that I saw was coming soon.
I would describe this video game as an action platformer.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
That's fair, like an action platformer adventure. You play Jack, who is essentially, man, he's the headless horseman without the horse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like, he should have
it's funny that you say horseman because I was going to bring up another game, but before I did that, a lot of previews and tweets that I've seen about this game leading up to it. When it came out, I immediately reached out and I was like, hey, I would love to review this game. I love the Halloween season. It's my favorite holiday of the year. I like all the spooky stuff. So I was like, this looks cool. I want to do this. And a lot of the sales pitch or the elevator pitch for this game is it's medieval. I don't think so.
No, I don't
get really
that
like
vibe.
Medieval. Like, I get it. I understand why somebody would say that, but it feels more like Crash Bandicoot or Jack to me.
Yes, I 100% agree. Like, it's definitely because it's got these and it's interesting because it's an action platformer. You have a weapon, you can fight, right? Some relatively basic melee style fighting. There's a couple of different weapons that you accumulate throughout the course of the game, but it also has these little interlude segments, like where you essentially chunk off poor Jack's head and solve a mini puzzle. And those mini puzzles almost have a Zelda shrine quality to them. Like it's a self-contained thing. You accomplish the goal and then you can progress sort of the bigger story.
I like the puzzle ones I thought were cool. The kick the ball things I thought were cool. The memory games at the end I thought were okay. Not my favorite, but they were good. The hit all of the I don't know, like go for heads fast enough to raise the bar. I didn't like that one. That was the one I didn't like the most. I was like, this is not as good as the other ones.
I love a mini puzzle, man. Okay. I love like a self-contained puzzle unit.
Well, it's cool that he rips his head off.
It makes a good sound too. Yeah. The sound, that cracking pumpkin stem sound is a good sound for that. That's like my favorite soundbite in the entire game is that sound.
The other game that I was going to bring up, and I know that it's not necessarily the same, although open area versus open world, like this is not an open world game, but there are wide areas that you can explore. There's some space to explore and do your combat in. Kind of gives me Darksider vibes.
Yeah. Yes. Some of the movement and action is early Darksider.
The writing, the character itself, Captain Jack, is not voiced, but the writing really makes me think of like Darksiders 2. I was like, I could totally see this being a Darksiders game.
Look, he's a minion of hell, man. You know, like
and I love the devil.
I love the anti-hero
Oh, it's cool.
game thing. I've always liked that a lot. I think that's why Darksiders resonates. It's like, you're not a good guy, but you're a fun guy.
Yeah.
And that is Jack. Jack's not a good guy, but he's a fun guy. They also had, in one of the levels that I was kind of tying up last night, they actually have these in a few, those roller coaster kind of segments, the minecart segments. It's Donkey Kong Country, man.
That is true. There is a lot of
that. Yeah, I like that.
You go on rails a lot. So you go on rails with the cart, you go on rails with the horse, you go on rails with the gremlin.
Yeah.
And I want to say there's another one, the boat. I guess it's kind of on rails.
It's this chunking up of it's a standard platformer, right? Like in a lot of ways, but like chunking off the head for little puzzle segments, and then having the little on rail segments mixed in keeps it like right at the point where you're like, I think I'm gonna shut this off. I think I'm done for now. You get something a little different, which I appreciate. Like there's a pacing thing there that I kind of, you don't get that a lot. Usually you get thrown into something.
Here's what the game is. Now do it for 10 more hours.
It 400 times. And it's like, I can only fight.
No, I think you're right. I think we got 2 of the same mini puzzle, but only 2.
Yes.
And then I think, and they were always like, here's the basic mini puzzle, and then here's the pro version of that mini puzzle.
Right.
So you always had that. And then I think that the on-rail sections were the same. I think we did 2 gremlins, 2 boats, 2 carts, 2 horses, I think.
I want to say you're right. Like it kind of, but it's never so much over and over in a row that you're done with it.
Oh, it's all intermixed between each other. So you do a platforming level, an action combat level. Here's an on-rails thing. Here's a puzzle. Now you're back to the platforming. Here's your action. Here's a different mini puzzle. Here's a different on-rails thing.
Right.
And you hit a boss. Varied.
It definitely feels, varied. And I need that in a platformer. Like, especially if it's not one of those platformers that does a quick restart, which this one doesn't do. To your credit, it does keep track of how many times you die, though. Look, all right.
I died a lot.
I did too. Some of it was a little bit like just some timing and wonkiness on like the rail segments. Just
I died a lot in the rail sections. I jumped into the water several times just to see if I could swim.
I did that too in the very beginning of the game, and I had to watch the intro kind of cutscene again because of that. I was like, okay, we're not in one of these games where I immediately respawn into the world, So if you're gonna give me a platformer that isn't like because this is not super precision driven, the character feels a little heavier. It does floaty.
That's where I was getting that crash thing. It's a little floaty.
Yeah, it has it's weird. Yeah, it has a little bit of floatiness. There's a little bit of imprecision. So I think platformers like that require the action to be broken up, or I get frustrated pretty quickly. So they did a good job of sort of mixing in enough different things to keep me from getting pissed off at it, like mad at it, especially with, you do have to wait when you die. You have to wait for it to reload.
You got a little minute, a little respawn.
Yeah, which is fine. Not every game has to be like Celeste, right? Where you just immediately pop
and this isn't that.
No, exactly.
I love the aesthetic, and that was one of my favorite things about it. And I like how it does the Halloween thing, but it's very varied in that you have the graveyard, you have the farm, you've got the scarecrows, you got the barn, you got the swamp. It does all of those things, but it does it all differently. You've got the bell tower.
Agree.
If you will. Like I like that. It's very purple and red and orange and green. You've got the hues, and you've got the fog, you've got the moonlight. Like it hits what I think it's intending to do and be that Halloween fun game. This is a great Halloween title for kids.
I agree with that statement. It's funny because when I was first playing it interestingly evokes Nightmare Before Christmas for me.
Kind of.
Not necessarily in the aesthetic, but in the vibe, that feel. Like very all in on this concept.
You could see this being a Nightmare on Elm Street game.
Yeah, it's like it just has that like its aesthetic, and it holds on to it, and I appreciate that. I also appreciate that it wasn't all brown. It's got a lot of color going on.
It's got a ton of color. It looked great on Series
green
X.
top. It's good. There's collectibles in there to find. Yeah, which give you a reason to go kind of plodding off onto the sides of some of the. It's a relatively linear path through, but they give you enough reason to explore.
How many you found?
I don't remember. I know I unlocked a handful of costumes. You can use them to unlock.
I unlocked all the costumes but one.
So did you find all but one single one, or do you
No, I was like 10 or 11 short of unlocking the last one.
That's not bad.
I spent a lot of time trying to find them all.
It does let you go back to from the menu and go back to levels you completed just for the purposes of collecting those, which is a delightful feature that every game needs to have. If you're going to give me a collectible, let me jump to levels.
Mm-hmm. No, and I, to be honest with you, though, one thing I would say about the time that I spent trying to find all the collectibles, I didn't like the outfits as much. I didn't feel like they were very rewarding.
They don't feel as varied as I kind of want them to. They kind of have the same color aesthetic to all of
They
them.
all kind of look the same.
Yeah, I wanted a little bit to go
There's
a little
like
bit
a
further.
farmer one that I got, and then there's a cowboy, and those kind of look the same. And
I
then
did the
I got the inspector one, which is kind of like this trench coat Dick Tracy thing, but it doesn't look like terribly different than the samurai one. The samurai one is just kind of like a heavy robe. And then I got Bones, which is just like his hollowed out skeleton, which that was the one I just used.
That's the correct choice.
Yeah. And I didn't get the last one, which I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but I wanted to, but I was just a few short. And after the final boss battle, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore.
I do wish they would, once you unlock the outfits, let you mix and match like tops, bottoms, or hats or something.
That's a good call.
That would just be kind of neat. Like, it's not, I don't require
I wanted it to be more Halloween-y. I
the
was
costumes,
thinking that it would be like Ghost Jack, Witch Jack, like get a little more, here's Jad as a bat, here's Jason Jack. That's what I was kind of thinking, like, not necessarily rip off the license, but you can play with it, get a little playful with the Halloween spirit. But it was all just kind of Jack. Like nothing really changed Jack. It was all Jack.
He still had the pumpkin head and the wicked smile, and which I mean, I get it.
Look with any outfit, just kind of the same look.
Yeah. I do wish they had used some of those like real bright colors in some of those outfits, because like the green and the purple and some of the pops to that stuff were great in the world. So it would have been cooler to have them on him. But hey, beggars can't be choosers. Okay, I got a scythe, so
Sure.
And a shovel.
I like the scythe and the gun. I mean, the combat. So we talk about the combat. The combat was pretty good. I never. It's the interesting thing about this game. I wouldn't call this game hard at all, but I also wouldn't think it's easy.
The boss fights don't play.
Yeah, there's a significant amount of challenge here, and if you just walk in thinking you're going to smash the button to your way, you will get worked by some of the enemies.
Yeah, you do need to use the dodge, and it gives you. It's very like friendly with like giving you invincibility frames and not having you get beat down. But you have to actually use the dodge. Like
you've got to use the dodge. Use the environment, hide behind boxes and barrels and stuff like that.
Setting myself on fire though.
I did that a few times.
I set myself on fire so many times. Okay, look, why is all of this? I get that the devil came and started a bunch of nonsense, but does there have to be candles burning on every wooden box in this place?
I think they just were really proud of their flame tech.
And it's good. I kept going, oh, there's only so many times this pumpkin can get lit on fire.
Light something on fire that you then had to jump through?
Yeah.
I did that several times. I was like, there's no way of going around it. And it never burns out.
No,
you just have to jump through it.
I tried to wait it out for a minute, and I was like,
so did I. I sat there for like 40 seconds like, this is never going to go out.
I was like, oh, son of... I mean, look, if you have fire tech, all right, you own it. Also, especially if your theme is like the devil has taken over. Okay. I get it. Also, people need to stop leaving lit candles. Somebody needs to get smoky in here. Like, that's a fire hazard. It's just, you're going to have forest fires. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, I did enjoy the combat. And I did enjoy that each of the weapons on the wheel felt different.
They did feel different.
And there were compelling reasons to go back to them.
I wish we had more compelling reasons to switch. And I wish we could switch like faster on the fly. Why they weren't mapped to like the D-pad or quick buttons or something.
100%.
Yeah, but none of the enemies really require you to use any of them. You can really just kind of play however you want to play, which is fine. It's a game for kids.
Agree.
It might have been a little more fun to mix up at least an enemy type or a boss or two that required you to switch or change.
I agree with that statement. Like, they're interchangeable. What really ended up happening for me is I just kept jumping to the next one. Yeah. Like, whatever one was the newest one, I just assumed that's what the game was.
For a while.
And it was fine to do that. And
I finished with the sword. I like the sword, I think, the most.
Cool. Yes.
So, especially because you could do the double jump and then you could have like the rain of swords come down.
I like that.
I use that attack a lot because it helped, especially when you were being swarmed.
Yes.
So after I kind of tried them all out and went through it, because I was doing the same thing, but once I realized everything, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back, because I like the scythe for the you could roll, and then when you stood up and attack, you would do a spinny thing.
Yep.
But I would find out more. I was like 2 out of 3. It was like a Mighty Ducks thing. I was 2 out of 3 on that one. So there were several times I roll into somebody and just get hammered because I didn't press it at the right time. I was like, oh, I'm gonna stop doing that.
The shovel was actually cool for that because it had that 3 or 4 hit combo where he would spin.
Yeah.
Like, and that was reliable. I could always do that, and I like that. Useful on like they lean on some of those enemies that if you don't destroy the base thing, it keeps spitting them out. Mice, skeletons, things like that, which is fine. It gives you something else to hit, and they replenish your life. But useful for those type of enemies. So there are like kind of reasons to switch, but there's never an urgency to switch weapons. Which is fine. It's for kids.
How cool were the dance scenes?
I love that stuff. I love nonsense like that in video games. I love when games don't take themselves too seriously, and this one most certainly does not.
Yeah, no, it definitely, yeah, no, all of the, fourth wall is at this point cliche, but the whole time he's constantly yelling at everybody for giving him side quests, literally side quests. He's saying, well, what is with all of the side quests? And that's where I was getting like the Darksiders vibe. Yes. Just old man, why am I dealing with you? I'll send you to hell, very much like a war and stuff like that. So I was getting a lot of the vibes from the writing, and I think ultimately I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I don't think it's the greatest game by all means. I think $30 might be asking a little much in today's market for it.
I would argue the same.
But I do think it has a very specific appeal, especially right now. And I don't think there's a lot of games that do the Halloween game for kids.
Agree.
We talk about spooky horror games, and everybody's like PT and Resident Evil. It's like, man, I can't let my 10-year-old play PT.
Yeah, they'll never sleep again, and then they're waking you up.
Right.
Like we need to this one I could give to my 10-year-old, even my 8-year-old, and they would be perfectly
content. They'd have some fun laughs. You can break some tombstones, smash some buttons, and live 100%. Out that Halloween superhero fantasy game. And it's a style of game that's very common or familiar. It's very easy to pick up. I know my kids both stopped and watched me play it. And it's a shorter game. Kevin plowed through this thing in like a day and a half. I played it over like 2 weeks, but I wasn't playing it in super long sessions.
Yeah, fair enough. It was a couple of days for me just because I would do a level at a time. And there aren't that many. It's not a huge game. And I wasn't also poking around in every nook and cranny after like maybe the first level to get things. I just kind of, it's like whatever. But it's not exceptionally long. But it gives you compelling.
I think it's like 5 to 7 hours, and then with the exploring that I did, I would probably put my playtime maybe at like 10.
That's not bad. You went back and soaked up every last collectible, or very close to.
And I really like that in games. Like I collected all the Playboys and Mafia. When I get into a game like that, I really like to try and find the stuff. So I was always, can I get around the tree? Can I look up here? I was always looking on the roof. I would always climb somewhere really high, look around, scan the environment, try to figure it out.
That's fair. I usually do that for the first third of games like this, and then by the end, I'm just like, I just want to see where this is going, or I just want to hit something.
I really wanted to unlock all the outfits. I tried real hard. I was like, I wanted to see what they all were, and I'm a little upset that I finished short, but I feel like I really combed through this game, and I was still like 10 or 11 short, and I'm like, where were they? Because there's a point when you have to go through the deadly sins in the graveyard, and you have to give up beaks, and I was like, I don't want to do that.
No, give it back to me. Yeah. I appreciate though that when you got to the end of it, you still didn't know where they all were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Good. That's like they're well hidden enough that it requires something of you, and I think that gives players compelling.
I know there were a couple that I saw that looked like they were like out in the middle of a lake.
Yes.
And I looked at it, I was like, I have no idea how I'm supposed to get there.
I'm clearly not able to swim because I keep trying it and keep getting
keep dying. So, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go past that one, thinking that that there'd be more to come. But yeah, I missed a couple on the way. And that battle scene where you're storming the castle and they're shooting cannonballs and you have environments coming down and you're collecting on the boards. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah. I
enjoyed that.
All of those little like interludes like that. Like, you get to the end of, I believe it's the second level and you're having a conversation with the wizard, and it's just like silly and like, inventive, and the sword's talking, and
like that Lost Woods section where you've got to follow the crows and all that. And you look at the screenshots of the game and you think like, this is the game, but it really doesn't paint the picture of just how many different things there are. They're all similar themed, but very different. Very different, like I said, variety. There's a lot of variety in here.
Yeah, I like that, and it's always right before games that pace well do this. It's always right before you get tired of something.
Yeah,
like I'm tired of doing this. Oh my god, I'm tired of
really doing anything for too long.
Right, and I appreciate that. If you're not going to build like something super complicated from a battle perspective, then give me a little bit of something constantly. Trickle it through. Kids love that too. Like it really resonates with my kids because they're like it's always changing, so they feel like they're always doing something new. I like it, and I'm in my 30s, so it's not just children.
I'm looking at my notes, and the only thing that I had, I mean, we brought up the dev, but I mean, it's a solo dev.
Hmm.
He made the
Yeah,
game, the majority of the game by himself. I know the credits specifically mention his publishers, folks. He had a UI designer and I think a port person, like somebody's
okay.
working on the ports.
That
But
makes sense.
the game was basically made by him as a solo dev, and I gotta say, from that perspective, it's very impressive.
There's a lot in here. Did he do the music as well?
I think
The
so.
sound design?
At
See,
least in
the
all of
sound
the
stuff.
press release and the website, everything pointed at Head Up Games, publisher, and everything. He is a solo dev. So when I
That's right.
see that, I presume he made the
Yeah,
game, he made the gameplay, he made the art, he made the music.
that's a
It's
feat.
impressive.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
exceptionally well done.
It's a $30 game, and I don't mean to say it's not worth it, because I think in a lot of ways, if you're really into Halloween, I think it's probably worth $30.
Sure.
It's just the market is so many options that it makes you wonder like how well it'll do at 30. I think it'll do better when it goes on sale.
I would agree.
Um,
Probably around 20 if I had to put a number there,
but
but
for what it does versus what other games do, like one, we don't have a whole lot of 3D indie games. And
agreed.
then when we get them, they're usually not like super good. And this feels like a nostalgic 3D action game. Like it has
Yeah.
that, and it has a level of polish that is better than what I typically would expect. Like when I saw this game at first, and I saw the first trailer, I don't think I was expecting this game to be as good as it is. I think it
That's fair.
exceeded my expectations.
It plays better.
Than
It's
you
a
think
better
it will.
experience. It's played a better experience playing it than it is watching it.
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
what I will say. Like if you just watch it, like a trailer or anything, it's like, okay. When you're actually playing it, it's a lot more engaging and more
And
fun
I
than
just
I
say,
really expected it to be.
I played a lot of indie games, and I
Yeah.
don't mean to put indie games on blast, but they're not all created equal.
No, 100%.
For every
They're
Hollow Knight and every Golf Story and everything like that, there are 100 other games that are not
absolutely.
super great. And this one does. I mean, it's got the polish, it's got the story, it's got the writing, it's got a lot of variety, it's got a lot of things that it does. I don't want to, again, I don't want to oversell it, trying to keep everything kind of in the wheelhouse. I mean, I think it's a good
Yes.
game. Like
If you're like itching for this vibe and a platformer and something that you don't have to feel like you have to commit a ton of like brain cycles to, it's not that it's
100%.
like super easy, but it's not like going to eat your brain, alive. It's good for that.
Yeah.
I'm at $30. I'd say you have to really want Halloween.
Yeah.
That's what I will say. I think if you really want that aesthetic, then you could maybe make a case.
Like if you're looking
otherwise,
for something to play on Halloween,
yeah.
this is the perfect choice.
Especially if you have young people in
Yeah.
your house and you don't want language or you don't want like real like gory violence. Like, it's a great call for stuff like that. Hand your controller to your kids or play it yourself. Like I had as much fun playing it as my kids did, and that says something about a game like that.
We got the review code pretty early, and my first day with it was a little rough. It was a little framey, and it was chugging in places, especially on that second level when you get to the barn and the whole side.
Yeah.
I was like, oof. But we got an update about midway through review embargo that they had patched it, and I did go back, and it was better. It was a lot. It was noticeably better. And after that patch, when I went back to my main game playing, I never noticed a slowdown from that point forward.
I think I played it after it was patched. Personally, there were a couple frame drops in that fire barn segment, kind of in the beginning. After that, yeah, it was pretty smooth. I never had any trouble with boss fights. I never felt like the game was technically fighting me to accomplish something. It was usually just that either I wasn't vibing with the platforming, or I just didn't figure out what I had to do.
Sure.
But yeah, I never felt like I was. Yeah, it performed well enough that I didn't feel like I was fighting against it technically to do what I wanted to do in it, that's fine.
And we both played it on Xbox, and I would say for that reason, I do have some concerns of how it makes the transition to Switch. I haven't seen it, I have not played it, but if I ran into some of those issues on an early build on Xbox, I can only imagine that on Switch, it's probably fuzzy. It's probably chugs at times. It's probably not as good of an experience.
Yeah, I think that's, you can, from experience, right? We can probably make that assumption. Like it's been the experience, and I played it on a 1X for reference. I believe you did too, right? So as much power as I could throw at it at the current juncture, I was, and it, like I said, I played it after it had gotten patched and I didn't have any problems, but I could see the number of enemies that they sometimes stick on screen at you if you don't get on top of one of those enemy generators to cause
like that castle scene with the stuff flying in and all the particle effects and everything. It's probably going to slow down a little.
Yeah. And that's, tis what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you just expect that when you're playing on Switch. When you buy a game on Switch, you're not expecting top of the world performance. But some people out there might be considering that this is a cartoonier game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could see that being maybe a point of contention. Again, for reference, we're recording this before the game releases. We don't know. We've not played on Switch. I'm just postulating based off experience what I think might be the case.
I'm curious to see how it performs and looks.
Same.
I'd be curious because
I would double dip on it for at a discount on Switch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if it went on sale, I would buy it again on that because those are the kinds of games that are like perfect on that screen too. You know, because I don't know. Also, the vibe is good, the music is good, and the sound effects are like that neck snappy stem sound effect is really good. I can't stop thinking about it. It's like perfect, just perfect.
Cool.
Right? I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, that's everything I got. I'm looking.
You're an adult. Made notes.
I made notes. Got all the notes.
Showing me his notes. I did it. Look, okay. All of my entertainment comes from not having notes. So also it's Steel Trap.
Anyway, thumbs up. I would recommend it.
Thanks for the conversation about this.
Yeah, anytime.
Good stuff. All right. And we'll catch you guys. I'm sure we'll have more of these in the future. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Peace.